All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. It's almost the end of the week of a short week. It's flying by. So welcome to Remax Ace. Yeah, we have some guests joining us today and people online. So today we're going to talk about doing our comparative market analysis. Super important. I find our listing season has been kind of slow to start here, but it's definitely a talk point to like close your listing appointments. I've said so many times, and I know you guys have probably heard my stories over and over again, who's ever attended my training, but you close listing appointments by having your CMA ready to go. I can't express how many times I've come with a prepared CMA and I've had clients say to me, wow, you're so prepared. The other realtor just brought me a piece of paper, or the other realtor didn't even bring anything, right? So what you're doing is you're coming into these listing appointments and you want to show them, look, I did the research about your property. I'm knowledgeable about your property. I know what's happening in the neighborhood and I know how to sell this for you as fast as possible, right? For top dollar. So we're going to just jump into it right now. Let's go here. All right. So if you answer these 6 questions by the end of your listing appointment, there'll be no questions left for your client to say, oh, let me think about it, or there's no unanswered questions in their mind. So you always want to cover why choose me, right? Why choose Remax? How you're going to market the property? What are you going to do to actively market this property? What commission you're going to charge, right? Everybody wants to know what commission you're going to charge. What is my property worth? And what's happening in the market. Okay. So we'll talk about all of those after the CMA, but the CMA covers what is my property worth, right? At the end of the day, that's what that covers. So what's part of the CMA, right? We're going to gather the information for the subject property. So you need to know about your subject property. Obviously the address, property type, square footage. You can pull the MPAC report. It's only $5. Don't put wrong square footage in your listings. Um, Size and bedrooms. And why are we doing this? Because we need to know what to compare to other properties. Okay. Also, when somebody calls you on the phone, you've never seen the inside of their house. So while, yeah, we can pull up an old MLS listing from when they purchased that property, we need to ask them questions. If they've lived there 10 years, you want to say, oh, okay, your 4 bedroom, 3 washroom, great, no problem. Then you get off the phone. Well, what do you compare? Are they really renovated properties in the street? Are they really run down properties on the street? So you have a conversation with your client before. I've never been inside your house. Could you give me a little detail? What upgrades have you done over the years? You know what I mean? Have you done any renovations? Have you had any additions? Whatever the case may be. And a lot of people will say, oh yeah, when we moved in here, the basement was unfinished. We put a beautiful basement apartment in there and the kitchen. Or they could say, oh, we lived here 10 years and we really haven't done anything. So you can kind of have a little better idea. You're going to go and you're going to search for comparable properties on Realm. So generally, I really like to focus on the sold. Okay. I just find that sells more because it's what's proven. Okay. So when I'm arguing a price, I want to show what's sold, but the active listings and the terminated listings and the pending conditional sales can give your clients an idea of what's happening in the market. You can say to them, look, this was terminated and expired several times because they're up for 1.2 and you're insisting on 1.2. So if you'd like to stay on the market, you can just see what's happened with these terminated and expired listings. They're a good talk point with your clients because you can show them the reasons why maybe they're not going to get the price that they want, right? And then the active listings are super important. I might throw one or two into my CMA, but I always tell my clients, and I hope you guys check, if you sign a listing agreement today and you're listing it in, they say, oh, we want to paint, so put it up next Tuesday. I am going to check Tuesday morning and see, but right before I list that property, what is listed in the area, right? I want to know what my active competition is, right? We had a listing in Oshawa, and I know we had talked, I'm just throwing out numbers, I think it was $7.99 and $8.99. So we had told our clients we're going to put it up for $8.99, right? And right before we went up, we realized a similar property that wasn't quite as nice as ours, but online it looks like 3 bedroom, right? But I know ours was more renovated, theirs wasn't. They went up on $7.99. And I thought, well, I don't want them to steal all the traffic. Everybody knows at the end of the day that we have to educate our clients that we're going to end up at that market price, right? Everyone's going to check the sales. So don't be afraid of the list price. We convinced them, put it up at $7.99, and we still sold for their target price. But I just didn't want to lose that traffic. So you have to know what the active listings are when you're going for a listing appointment, right? You have to know because you have to know what the competition is. Also, you could say, look, it's an active listing and it's not 74 days on the market. Do you want to sit 74 days on the market? Like, again, another talk point about pricing. Sorry, did I hear somebody online or you guys good? Okay, so I want to choose your comps wisely. Okay, so when you're selecting the comparables, you want to make sure you're in the same neighborhood area pocket. It can change. So I know where I live. I'm sort of north of Ellesmere, even though I'm considered Woburn no matter what. So I know as soon as I go south of Ellesmere, those house prices drop. So if I'm an agent and I'm not used to working in that Woburn area and I'm comparing with the wrong properties, right? I'm not showing them my knowledge because they live in the area. They know what's happening, right? So make sure you're choosing the same neighborhood pocket, same area, same square footage, property style, and I'm going to go show you in the CMA how we're going to compare all of that. Similar lot size and features, sold within the past 90 to 180 days. So I edited this for this training today because normally we would say past 6 months maybe, right? But we know that our market is really, really like been changing a lot lately. I don't want to go back more than even a month or two, really, when I'm checking properties right now. I want to really know what's sold very recently. And then same school district or key lifestyle amenities if your client is looking specifically for something like that, or if they want to showcase something like that, right? And then I just have here that Realm does have the map function now, so you can easily see where those are. Before we had to, I don't know if you did the same thing I did, I'd have Stratus open and then Google Maps open, and then I'd Google the address and go, how close is that? Is that really close to that house, right? Super easy with Realm now. It shows right up for you, so you can pull those properties up and look at it. And then we're going to look at the adjustments. Okay, so the adjustments are a little confusing section. I know I've had a lot of agents call me and say, I don't really know how this section works. Yeah, I tend not to use it a lot because it's hard to say one extra bedroom is going to get you exactly $30,000 more. And you don't want to make those promises to your client. But it is a valuable section to give you kind of a baseline to see if you can get it to match up at the adjustment section in the bottom, which I'll show you. Okay. And analyze and price strategically. So average of the sold prices, your top 3 to 5 comps that you're using. Consider market trends. So up, down, stable. Are we in a stable market right now? No, right? Very unstable. The election's coming up soon. I think everyone's sort of holding their breath. I don't know, anybody in the room will have listings where you're not getting any showings, right? Yeah, it's just not happening, right? You're like, what? I priced it well. It's a good property. Some of this should fly right off. Like we all have our clients. I have my overpriced client right now. But my other listings, I'm going, what's happening, right? So we're not in that stable market right now. And then use a pricing band. So why do I use a pricing band? I don't want to show up to my client and say, you're gonna get 869 and put that in black and white ink on my report and come in and show it to them and then look at it and go, oh, they really didn't take care of this property. It's not going to show well. Really needs some paint. There's some broken things. The floor tiles are cracked. You never know what you're walking into. So it's good to use a pricing band because then you can slide in between once you walk it because you've never seen the inside of that property before, right? So when you create your CMA, you definitely want to give a little bit of a range, right? And then round to strategic numbers. So we always talk to our clients like, you really want 900. Well, let's put 899,999 because everybody sees the 8, right? We all know about that pricing strategy. Okay, so the adjustment section, we'll talk about that. Let's go and open up the CMA and see how we get started with that. We'll start walking through how you do it. Oops. There we are. I always have 17 things open on Zoom. Okay, so when you log into the system, let me just go back to the beginning. This is your dashboard, right? And our CMA is done through Realm CMA. So we're just going to go into Realm like we would normally go in, search. And then you're going to come up to this waffle over here. and click on it, and you're looking for realm CMA. So I think everybody's like little widgets are sort of in different spots depending on how frequently you use them. So maybe if you never use realm CMA, it might be closer to the bottom, but realm CMA is in there. Okay. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. 99% of the time, we're lucky and our client has sold the property before. So I'm just going to look at a listing around here so we can use it as an example for our CMA. Toronto. Oops. Okay, we're in C15 here. So this laptop I'm not used to. My laptop got stolen. So this is the boardroom laptop. All right. So C15. So let's just pick something like, I don't know, let's pick something 34 Houston. We'll use this as an example. Okay. So imagine we're going to go and get listing 34 Houston. We're going to come into our CMA and we're going to type in 34 Houston. Okay. And we're going to click on it. It's going to be an old listing and create. From here, you know what? I'll come back to this. I want to go straight into it for a second. So I'm going to skip this and I'll create another one and come back to that part. So the beautiful thing about having a previous listing to work off of is that it autofills out all the information here for you. So the thing you have to be careful is this person could have bought 20 years ago. You have to vet this information. It's saving you from the data entry, but not for the accuracy. So you still have to go through it. So you want to make sure, okay, freehold sale 34 Houston, great, no problem. Most of that information won't change, right? And then square feet, fine. You can double check that on MPAC if you want. And then let's see here. Say it said unfinished basement. Maybe when you had the conversation with them on the phone, it's finished now, right? So you definitely want to put finished here. Maybe they added a bedroom. So now it's 3+2 in the basement, right? Most certainly the tax information will be incorrect because we're not working in this year. So you're going to go, and unless you found it out from them, and for a listing appointment, we generally find the information when we get the listing, not before we go for the listing appointment, like what are your taxes? So generally I leave that spot blank, okay? And then the description, you can leave the description there. You can add a little something to it depending on what you're talking with them on the phone. If they said, oh, we put in a beautiful pool and you know, stamped concrete all around and it looks really great. So you can add that into the description if you want. But the most thing is you want to make sure that these fields are filled out as best as you can, because this is what the realm CMA is going to read off of to compare it to other properties. Okay. So that's really great. So let's go back to the beginning of the CMAs again. So now what happens if you have an original owner, it's never been on the market, it's never been on MLS, there's no data in there. How do you fill out that information? You can manually create one as well. What happens is it's going to directly take you to that screen. And the only difference is maybe you go find a picture of the front of the property and you just manually fill out everything on your own to start your CMA. Okay. So those are the two ways we can start to create our CMA. We'll go back to CMA. And I'll just delete that one real quick. 34 Houston. Okay. Let's pretend we're going to create 34 Houston again, and I won't skip that first screen. 34 Houston. Now we go and we create. We know we have a subject property. We know we're going to go to the next page, and our subject property information is already going to be filled in. Good morning. So there are different ways that we can find properties. So Realm is great. It's going to do 90% of the work for you, but again, you have to trust it and vet it. So it can suggest properties for you. What it's going to do is it's going to look within a little bit of criteria you're going to give it here, whether you want to go within 250 meters, 500 meters, depending on the area you're working in. Is it a dense neighborhood or is there not very many comparables? How big you want to fan out? Up to 10 kilometers, right? And what do you want? Do you want the last 12 months, year to date, last 6 months, last month? Again, I'm using year to date because I really only want this year, right? It doesn't, our market right now doesn't compare to what was happening last year. So you can pick what you want here, year to date. I want to look at freehold sales that sold, right? But you can tweak this for any which way you want. And you're going to go to it and you can say suggest properties. And what it's going to do is it's going to just bring up a list. And it's going to say, we found 4 comparable properties that we feel are great. And you can say, okay, add them to my CMA. Right? I personally am a little too finicky for that because I like to make sure I go and I vet everything. So again, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to delete. Because I want to make sure I've handpicked everything for my client. Most of the time I use the search function. So I'm going to come in. Just let someone in. Ready for Houston. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to click create. Okay, I'm back to the screen again. So my option now is I'm going to search the properties. I want to search it myself. I want to see what sold in the last 6 months, year to date. Let's do year to date. I want to search the properties. Okay, so it probably brought up the same 4. Generally, if there's more, we'll let you weed through those 12, right? I'm actually working kind of a small pocket right now around us because it's a lot of commercial around us right now. So if I picked another area, I'm sure like E09 or E10, it'll be a lot denser with residential homes. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to see, you can open them up. I'm not going to take time. We all know how to compare the property. I'm going to say, oh, this looks like it. No garage, but the lot size and everything's the same. Yeah, I think I'll use this comparable, right? What you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, I think this one, and this one are 3 that I'm going to use in my CMA. Okay. Now from here, it's not a regular search. Good morning. You can add it to your CMA by going to the top right here. You have a blue tab there called CMA that you don't normally have when you're doing your regular searches, right? You're going to click on that CMA and you're going to say add to comparables. Okay. 3 comparable properties added to CMA. Now I'm going to click on CMA and I want to return to my CMA. Now they're plugged in there. Okay. So what do things look like right at this point? Okay. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go share and export and just show you real quick what we've done so far and what we can add on. When you get through this, I know it takes a lot more time to talk and teach about it, but literally the CMA, you can do it in under 5 minutes. It's literally that easy. You just have to go and pick a few comparable properties, open it up, pick the old one, make sure you delete old information and add in your comparables and run out the door, right? So I encourage you guys to get used to doing it because if someone calls you and says, hey, can you come to my house in a half hour? Yeah, sure. It shouldn't be a panic. It should be, yeah, sure. Go click, do your CMA, run out the door, right? You can see just from that very little information, we only picked 3 properties and put the subject property in, didn't have to fill out, it auto-fill the information. It already spits out a beautiful report for us. See? It has the subject property details from the first page, the comparable property summary, which will go over a little bit more in the map. But here's a side-by-side comparison. So this is why you want to make sure that you're picking similar properties because right across the way you can read and you can say, okay, look, these are all 3-bedroom. They all have 2 washroom. Really great chart that you just right across you can see. They're all the same square footage. They're all the same lot or similar, lot in front and depth. And just a really quick, good side-by-side comparison of everything. And all you did was put in that little bit of information. Realm does it all for you. Okay. So now we're going to go back and we'll take.
Christine, right? Sorry, what's the meaning of suggested properties? There are 2 options, right? Suggested property. When you go to the add comparable properties.
At the beginning?
When you go to the add comparable properties.
Right.
I think it's asking for search property and then suggestible property. I think it's not here, but then.
It's not here. It's when you create your CMA. So I did it both ways to show you. The suggested property is letting Realm pick it for you, right?
Okay.
and then you can go through and see what it is. But you can go in and do your own filters and do your own search to find more of what you want or more that's similar. But Realm will do, you just go suggested and they'll go, I think this is similar to the property that your subject property that you've plugged in. If you go within 500 meters, I think these are the 4 most comparable properties in the area.
Okay.
It's Realm suggesting it for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to come here and we're going to go to the adjustments. Okay. We'll just come and we'll look on lines here and see what's different. So this is kind of funny. This says 1 washroom, 5 washrooms. Could have picked a more not comparable property. But anyways, so in this case, we're going to say this property, okay, this property sold for $1,332,000. I want to find out how much less this property is going to get. Property has, let's imagine it has 3 washrooms. This has 1, right? I'm going to say each washroom is worth $10,000, right? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say minus $10,000. Okay. Now I'm going to go along and I'll go to the next one. Let's just look at the washrooms for now. We'll focus on washrooms. Again, this one, washrooms, I'm going to minus $1,000 again. I said 10,000 each washroom, it should be 20, but we'll just go with 10,000 across the board to see what it does. Okay. And this one, let's imagine this property has more, less washrooms than our subject property, because I want to add to this one. I'm going to add 10,000 because our subject property is better. It has more washrooms than this property. Okay. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to share and export. We're going to go to that same comparable that we were looking at. As soon as it generates. And all it's going to do is it's going to adjust the price of the properties for me accordingly. So I can say to my clients, yeah, it's great. You know what I mean? You should get a similar price to your neighbor that sold. But as you see, you know, they had 3 extra washrooms than you. So in the adjustment section here, it'll adjust the price for you. Okay, so we come to this part here, and you see at the very bottom, it's the adjustment here. So it's going to say, okay, this one sold for the original price was 1.198. Wait, sorry, I'm like looking on the screen here. How come it says 000? It didn't take my adjustment. Anyways, there you go, Realm. Let's go back and see again what we were doing here. Sorry? No, it's usually an adjustment. It always shows up in the adjustment. When you know it's when you're training.
You did in a notes.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, it should be an adjustment column. So right column.
You
Yeah,
put it in the notes. You put it in the notes. You're supposed to put it in the adjustment.
Adjustment, right side.
You put the 10,000.
No.
Note says you have to write like there are 2 more additional
Thank you,
washrooms.
guys.
And
Yeah,
then
there you
type,
go.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Gotcha. This is what happens when you're standing up here and everybody's
So
staring.
the stratas used
You
to
know
have
what I mean?
like
You
put
do
in
something
immediate.
1,000 times. There you go. Thank you, guys. I'm like, what did I do? It works every other time. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. So this is where you can write in here in the column, you know, 3 less bathrooms kind of thing for your client. Put it in the notes. Thank you so much. Okay. So share or export. To download it. Now it'll show up. Probably because I haven't finished my coffee yet this morning. All right. So now we can go download. We can open it up. Okay. We'll go down to that section. And now you can see the adjustments. So it's saying here, that one sold for 1,332. So your subject property should sell for 1,322 because we're minus off the bathrooms that we're lacking that property had. And same with the other one, you see where instead of subtracting it, it added it to it, right? Depending on whether you put the plus or minus on. Again, I say this is honestly, a lot of people ask me about these adjustments and they focus on it a lot. I hate putting a hard and fast number on if you have an extra bathroom, you're going to get that much more. Because at the end of the day, I'm always just like pushing for the highest price anyways. So who cares if we had one extra bathroom? Our backyard's more manicured and, you know, we're more renovated than that guy. So he got 1.332. I want 1.332 for my client as well, right? So I don't generally use a section a lot, but that is how it works. Okay. So now I'm just going to get into the other parts. Like I said, we were talking about why choose me, why choose our brokerage, why, how are you going to market the property and all that stuff. Like I said, this is great for like when you're flying out the door. You need to have something ready for your client. Spits out such a beautiful report in 2 seconds. So it'll even put in a table of contents in there for you. And you can pick and choose. It doesn't have to look like this every time. I'll show you when I back out of this. You can choose, no, I don't want the table of contents. Take that page out, right? And I never use it myself because I insert my own pages into my CMA. That's what I'm going to show you shortly. But then here you can see it does comparable summary. So what's the low price? What's the high price? The median price, right? Of what's sold, what's the average days on market, how many properties you use to compare to. So we use 3 properties there. And the map is really great, like I said, because a lot of times you're sitting with your client and you'll say, you know, 123 Main Street sold for this much. And they're like, where is that? And you're like, oh, it's right here. See, it's right in your little neighborhood pocket. It's only a few streets over. So the map is a great part to put in all the time. And then this page, very often I like to include these as well because it's more of a description of the property. So this is a quick view edit, but then you can say, look, you know, this said rare find, beautifully renovated top to bottom in 2024. So they're a brand new renovation. And I know you're recently renovated, but your renovation is closer to 10 years old now. So it's not that comparable to this property that just sold. So good to print these descriptions as well so they can get a little better idea of the property and a little more insight into it. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go into the parts and I'm going to share my own CMA with you guys, which I like to do because I find it's been really successful for me. And like I say, you guys should have this ready, walk up. So it's good to spend time maybe after today and the rest of this week. If you're not doing anything, if you're not bombarded with listing appointments and buyer showings, sit down in front of the computer and create this because once it's ready to go, it looks like a lot and it did take time, but once it's ready to go, you can print it along with the Realm CMA and go out the door. And these are going to help you answer 6 questions. So these are from my very own CMA. The first thing is, why me? Why choose me? Okay. So you want to know, why do I got to choose you? I got 100 realtors knocking down my door. So I always say to them, 2 things I can promise you. No, nobody outworks me. I know that. I always put that in my client's head. I put that bug in their head. A lot of people, yeah, they'll come, they'll take your listing, they'll throw it up. But I know that I am bothered till the moment that property is sold. I know nobody's going to outwork me. I'm active. I'm always out there. B, I always tell you the truth. And people always go, haha, like that's a weird one to say. I will say, no, I'm just going to tell you. If you're telling me 1.2, I'm not going to tell you, oh yeah, for sure we can sell 1.2 and put it up there. Very often, and we had a client recently that we're working on, we're trying to get the price down to put the listing up. I just say simply to them, I said, you know, this is my reputation. I don't want to put my sign on your lawn and have it not sell. So I'm not going to tell you that it's going to sell for 1.2 if it's not, right? So I really want to work with you to put it up for a price that we're going to sell at the end of the day. So I always tell you the truth. And my track record of selling compared to the competition is 3 to 1. Look at the stats on the Toronto Real Estate Board. There's how many thousands of agents, right? A lot of them aren't active. I think the stat is that 4% are active on the Toronto Real Estate Board. So if you're an active agent and you're doing a few transactions a year, a decent amount, look at what the average is of what agents sold last year. You might be doing pretty good, better than you think. You know what I mean? Even if you don't consider yourself a very active agent. So you can put it out there in different ways, 3 to 1. I'm in the 80th percentile, whatever you want to put, however you want to put your stat up there, as long as it's true, put it up there. And then when you hire me, you hire 90 plus realtors. So now we're almost 200 strong in this brokerage. I've been using this slide, right, since I came here. But You use the strength of your brokerage always. Very often I get this, I'm a new agent and I didn't have a listing in that neighborhood, or I haven't sold anything in this neighborhood. How am I going to prove my worth to this client? If a client, hey, come in. If a client asks you, hey, like, what have you done in this neighborhood? Like, are you actively new? Like, whatever the case may be, you say, yeah, absolutely. We're an almighty we. You better believe if you're going into Woburn, you're going to look up what Remax Ace has bought and sold in Woburn, right? What track record do we have in that area? Because you can use the almighty we. It's the brokerage. You don't need permission to advertise each other's listings within the brokerage. We're one Remax family. We're under the same umbrella. So you can say, yeah, we just sold one down the street. And even if they're like, smart enough to say no, but like that was Amanda's listing, you could say, yeah, of course, we're a team. You know what I mean? We're 200 realtors strong. And also, you know what? We are really close. We have a chat and we have group meetings every week. We talk about each other's listings. Very often, if you look, we double end a lot of things in this brokerage because we're very communicative here. So you can use the strength of that for sure at your listing appointment. Very strong top point. Okay. I talk about my objectives. So what do? I want to expose your property to as many qualified buyers. The more people I get through the door, the higher your price is going. And I want to communicate with you on a weekly basis. So don't tell people stuff that you're not going to actually do. If you say that to them and then you take their listing and you don't call them for a month, they're going to hold you to it. Excuse me. To walk you through the whole process of selling your home, negotiate for top dollar, right? Again, put in things that you actually do. It doesn't have to be exactly this, but this kind of gives you an idea of why choose me, right? And you want to talk about the brand. Okay. So we got a why choose Remax. I always tell them, I go, Remax, okay, so how many agents are you interviewing right now? Oh, we just had a guy from Century 21, a guy from Home Life come through the door. And so I have this on here. I rarely read this to the client because it's boring. You don't want to know when it was established and where it was established. A lot of people don't care about that. But I talk to them about things that interest them. And I say, you know what? Remax's top brand. We're viewed 3-to-1 online, right? The SEO marketing that Remax head office does is the best of the best. So I know as a Remax agent, when I put a condo in Scarborough up and someone does a Google search for that, I know my Remax is coming up first on that Google search over any other agent in another brokerage. So just as a fact from that marketing standpoint, our listings move faster. They have more exposure online. And we all know today, as soon as people start their home search, even we used to say, oh, not old people don't use the internet. Well, now they do. Everybody's on there. That's where they go first. Realtor.ca, House Sigma, whatever they go on. They go and do their searches, right? So they're starting online. So that's really important that we're showing up on top there, right? And not only that, do you see billboards for any other brand out there? We're the most recognized brand, right? All we have to do is wear the pin and people know we're a realtor, right? People go, oh, you're a realtor. So have you ever walked out of work and forgot you were wearing your pin? I actually was mad this morning because I'm not wearing my pin. I get mad when I forget to wear it because I like wearing it. And then you wear it to the grocery store or you're in an elevator going to do your showing and people ask you, they recognize the balloon, right? They recognize Remax. They say, oh, you're a realtor? Great. So I always say we're so recognizable, top brand. Your listing is going to be pushed faster and harder for sure. You know what I mean? It's going to go fly off the market more than any other brand. And that's just a fact because of the marketing power. That's where our 410 yearly goes to, by the way. Not this office, it goes to head office for all of these tools that we're using, right? That's really, really important. And then I go to my listing plan of action. So what's my listing plan of action? Like I say, I'm a very active agent. So as soon as I get a listing, what are my habits? I know I'm going to send out a just listed. I'm going to send out a just sold, right? I'm going to call your building if I've got a listing to find out if anybody, 6 degrees of separation, somebody knows somebody that wants to move into this building. I'm going to door knock. I'm going to walk your neighborhood once I put up your listing. Like I'm active. I'm not going to, and like I say, if you don't do those things, don't put it in your listing plan of action. But I'm confident that once I get a listing, I'm going to do those things. So I put it in because I think my client should know this because they're going to hire me over the guy that goes, oh, okay, yeah, here, bring me some paper and says, I'm going to list your property and I think it'll go for 1.2. And you got me saying, I'm going to actively list this. I'm going to door knock your neighborhood. I'm going to call. I'm going to send out my flyers. I'm going to post it on my media, my social media. I'm going to talk to the 200 agents in my office about it. Everybody walks in my door knows I often say, sell my listing. You got a buyer? I was talking about my current listing, right? So this is how I'm going to put your property. So your listing of action is super important to your clients as well. All right, then we come to my favorite slide. I use this not only in CMA trading, I'm sure you guys are sick of the slide, but I am the one pushing you guys, do not list a property for 1%. And I challenge you guys to ask me to pull up my last 5 listings. None of them are for 1%. I won't do it because it's not worth our time. You want to kill yourself and do 20 listings this year for 1%, or you want to do like 8 and make the same amount of money, right? We're putting a lot of effort into our listings. We're putting not only the time for like photography, staging, gas, what about the license we hold? We pay those TREB fees every year, right? And your RICO and your everything else that you do, right? Professionally. So push for your 5%. You're worth it, right? And as long as you're showing them the worth, like this is my listing plan and I know I'm going to get you a higher price because I'm active, you can push for the 5%. So 5%, we're going to break it down for our clients. We're going to say 5%, 2.5 and 2.5, right? 2.5 goes to the co-op. You don't want to touch that. You know why? Because agents out there will not show your property because unless their client insists, right? But a lot of agents, if there's 3 other things for sale in the neighborhood, they'll go, this guy's giving 2%. I'm not gonna go show that to my client. I want to make 2.5. So we don't touch that. I always tell my client, you don't touch that because you want the thousands of agents to bring the clients in through the door, right? So of my 2.5%, I split with my brokerage 1.25 and 1.25. Okay. We're going to blame it on Selvin. We're going to say Selvin takes half of it. Not a lot of people understand what our split is with our brokerage. This is where it gets a little fuzzy for them, right? So yeah, okay, of my 2.5, about 1.25 and 1.25 goes to the brokerage, 1.25 comes to me. So what I will do is I will take my 1.25 and I will do 1% for you, no problem. What do I end up with? 4.75. 99.9% of the time, 4.75. If someone asks me to do 1%, I go, sure, yeah, I'll do it like the other guy said. Some people understand that it's not really 1, it's 3.5 in total, but you got to understand that a lot of people don't, okay? The ad on the back of the bus or the ad up on the billboard says 1%. It doesn't say total commission, right? A lot of the public doesn't understand that. So I'm telling you, it works a lot of the time, right? Sorry? I thought someone was saying something. Yeah, so go ahead, try this out next time. And you don't even have to have the chart. You can just explain it to your clients, right? I explain it to my clients and they see and they go, oh, okay, sure, no problem. Sign 4.75, right?
Hi, Kristen. It's Sadia.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Quick question.
Yes.
So when the client says, oh, he's doing for 1%, how should I continue that conversation with?
When the client says, who's doing? The other guy's doing it for 1%?
The other guy, yeah, another agent is doing it for
And they
agreed to do
understand
it
it's
for 1%.
3.5 total?
Mm-hmm.
Then you take the 1%. Because, okay, so here's a good question at the end of the day. I never lose listing either, okay? Because if I walk away, the next guy is going to make that 1%. So, okay, I'll do it. But it's a rare occurrence. The rare occurrence, I'll tell you. I can't remember the last one we took for 1%. So just try it in your listing appointment and you will be blown. And the more you use it, the more confident you get to use it. The first time you try it, I know the first time I was taught this years and years and years ago, I was like, it's never going to work. It's never going to work, right? All these guys are saying 1%, it's never going to work. And it worked. It worked. And it works time and time and time again. And I swear to you, you know me, I'm an open book. Come, I'll show you my last 5 listings signed, right? No problem. So don't ever lose a listing is my answer. Because if you don't take it for 1%, someone else will and we'll make the money, right? At the end of the day, it's a sales business. You don't want to completely lose the sale, right? Now, if they're asking you ridiculously, they're like, I have a beautiful 4-bedroom, 2-story house, and I want you to include staging and professional photography and whatever, and drone footage, and I'm only giving you 1%. And you're like, this is gonna cost me like $3,000 alone to like stage. You can walk away from that. But why waste your time? Why waste your time to make like what, $1,000, $2,000 at the end of the no, ridiculous, right? But like, yeah, if you're just taking the listing for 1%, take it. At the end of the day, if you've tried, you've fought, you've gone over this and you're not getting it, the next guy will close the deal for 1%. So you might as well take it anyways. This is just to try and get you most of the time more than 1%. But there's those people, hard sales are like for sale by owners, right? For sale by owners are hard to push for more than 1% because they already don't want to hire a realtor to begin with, right? Investor guys who flip a lot, they know they're always pushing for more, right? Oh, but like your average seller that you're working on, and it's not like we're trying to do something nefarious here. We're just trying to get what we're worth at the end of the day. I always laugh, and I'm sure I said to many of you, you've ever seen a surgeon walk into a hospital and go, I'll work for less than that guy. Yeah, I'll work for half of what you're giving him. Why is our industry the only one that does it? Like, it's really crazy to me. I honestly want to go and rip the sign when I see it on a billboard or the back of a bus. I go, dude, what are you doing? 1%? You really want to kill yourself with 1% listings all the time? Nonsense, right? So anyway, moving on. I usually do a little cover letter intro. Robin does have one, but I just thought this looks nicer that I logoed it and put it up myself. Thank you, for giving me the opportunity to come and speak with you today, right? So I have the little cover letter popped in there. And then I have always ask for referrals. Always ask for referrals at the end. This is something that we always forget to do. So we always forget to say, hey, you know what? Thank you. I'm really glad that we're signing. Don't forget, if you have anybody looking to buy or sell, let me know. We constantly remind your clients. Your job is to take your network and expand it every day. So that's one of the places that you have to do. You take from your center of influence, you take from your clients referrals. You have to ask for them. No one's going to automatically give them for you unless you ask. You won't be surprised how many times clients will come you and go, oh, but I thought you were so busy. You're going, no, I'm dying. I want to list, give me a buyer, please, to work with. So you have to ask. You have to ask for it. And then the current market. So these aren't current, obviously. These are my training slides. I change it monthly in my CMA, right? So where can you get these from? You can pull whatever stats you want. It doesn't have to be these three. I just do a general overview, right? So average days on market is 19. There's 9,042 sales monthly. Average price on Trev MLS is 820. Totally inaccurate right now, guys. But I'll show you where to get this information from. Okay. So you can go. I guess I gotta go through here. It's public information, so you don't even have to be logged in. It is available through our login. But I'll just show you. You can do it even faster. You can just go here and you can say Trev Market Watch. Okay, I'm going to go to the Trev Market Watch. Okay, on the full report. Okay, and so we're April 2025. It's always the month previous. So come near the end of the month, usually a couple days into May. Now April will become available. Okay, and I like it a lot. I pulled my 3 stats you saw there. I always pull it off the front page because we're not focused on one pocket. We're all over the city, right? So you can really hone it in though, and I'll show you. But right now you can see the average listing days on market is 24, right? Average price for the Toronto Real Estate Board, we're talking the whole board, right, is 1.4, right, for a detached home, right? And the sales that happened with 5,011, right? So down from last year, you see 6519 from 2024. Like the spring market's a little staggered, right? Slow to start this year. I think it's just because of that election looming over us, but hopefully it'll pick up. If you do work in a certain pocket, or you only work in condos, or you can go and this is like a 30-page report. You can go through it and you can pick out exactly where you're working at those same stats. What's the listing days on market for Woburn for single detached homes? You can look at that in the market report and put that in. So you can tell your clients too, you don't want to throw the listing up and then yell at you a week and say, hey, how come it hasn't sold yet? No, I'm going to let them know in my listing appointment. Look, the average days on market right now is 24. That's almost a month, right? So things are moving a little slow right now. We're going to put this up and you're going to be up for a couple of weeks because that's about the average for listing at the correct price, right? And everything. If they're overpricing, no way, you're going to be up for longer than 24 days, right? But this is where you can get that information. All right, did a lot of talking. Anybody have any questions? Anything you want me to go over again quickly? Yeah.
Last time you said advertisement is paid 1% commission.
Yeah.
That is again to a retro migration. If you see 1% commission, you can right away call them. So
yes.
They will have line and they will say you need to take a couple of courses.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So misleading advertising, right? Exactly. So I mean, I'm not saying go and tell all your realtors, but RICO does not actively search and find people. If you ever get a RICO complaint, it's because someone's complained about you. They only investigate complaints, right? So don't actively look. So
Task force, they don't require the task force. They are the one looking at all those kind of things. But it is they asking for the active realtors to help them.
Yeah.
I delete my.
they're pretty backlogged. They're pretty weighed down with complaints, right? I know closely Enrico, so I know that they're not actively out there searching. They're not combing Kijiji ads. Did you say you're a realtor? But it is your colleagues that are, the public that are tattletaling on you. So you got to make sure your advertising is good. And like I say, anytime you guys do an ad, you can flip it to me, and I'll make sure that it's okay, right? But like he's right. If you have 1%, it has to say some conditions apply, or for not the total or something like that. It is misleading for sure. But there's 100 of them up there. When I drive out of the Food Basics at Nielsen and Ellesmere, which is like where I normally go, there's a little lawn sign that keeps on getting pulled out. But I don't know if you guys have seen it. It says listing $9.99. I'm like, $1,000. Like, let me calculate this. $200 gone for like photo and drone, like whatever you're doing, virtual tour. Like, how are you making any money? Like for $500, for $400 in your pocket after you split with the brokerage, you know what I mean? Maybe you get $350. I don't know what you're gonna do with $900. So it's pretty funny to me. I'm like, I hate seeing it. That's what I'm saying, right? They want to double end it because they're only making $1,000.
Put the phone on it, and they will do nothing. And even if they call them, you cannot go on that way.
I know.
10 people call them directly.
Yeah.
Then he and he got at least 2.1.
But that's why it's important. Yeah. It's important the brokerage you're at. It's important because, like, everyone's trying calling one of these like brokerages where they're like, I'm not going to name call online because I'm going to put this up on YouTube. But, there's chains where you can go in any other brokerage or where they really don't know who you are. Like if someone calls our front desk, Ricky, Sarmia, Stephanie, all these girls are like, oh yeah, absolutely, Christine, not a problem. Let me check and see if she's in. None of us are in the office half time. Nope, they don't seem to be in at the moment. Like, can we get back to you? Really great front staff, right? Like they know us, like, well, yeah, we're working hard all the time. You know what I mean? Like we're always supposed to be in the office. So good points today for sure. Hopefully the market starts moving. What are you guys feeling after the election? I think it's going to move a little bit. Right? I hope so. It's only a few days away, right? Because like I say, the listings are just sitting.
I don't think I have a question about that you make a comparison about with this one who goes to house and the 3 goes from house.
Yeah.
We cannot simply we can put it that one goes from is a 10,000. At 3 bedroom, usable inconvenience is there, right? 3 bedroom, 1 bedroom.
Yeah.
Usable inconvenience because I listed one bungalow house.
Yeah.
4 plus 3 bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
1 plus 1 washroom.
Yeah.
I had a really difficult time to sell it.
Yeah.
Because some other property nearby is a 3 bedroom, even 1 bedroom lower, and 1.5 washroom in the upstairs,
Mm-hmm.
and 1.5 in the ground floor.
Yeah.
It's going to higher price than one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So comparing
Comparisons like
washroom, if it's a washroom, 3 washroom and 4 washroom, we can compare.
right.
1 washroom and 3 washroom, we should take.
You have your analytical clients that need those sort of charts and need that information, right? But I know, like you said, like if I was that 3 bedroom guy and you're the 4 bedroom guy, I'm like, I don't care what he sells. I'm going to sell high, just as high as him. Why not? Like it's my client. I want to be competitive too. I want to be able to send out my just sold over asking, highest in the neighborhood, record price, right? Because that makes me get more business. So yeah.
And I had a hard time to convince my client to make it accept that.
Right.
And so far that one is the highest price sold in that area. After that, it's a price taking down.
Yeah. I'd be flying that neighborhood like crazy if I was that agent. You know what I mean? For sure, I'd be hammering it. So,
Christine, how is suggested like a 1 parking lot with a garage or double car parking with sometimes 4 cars you can run? What is a value?
okay, well, this is what I'm saying. Here we go. They give you examples. If you do a Google search, even it'll give me a price adjustment on homes for more watch. There'll be adjustments out there. But like I say, I really never include the adjustments. I skip that whole section and I print my CMA. I just want to land the appointment, tell them I'm going to work really hard and show them what my skills are, right? But like you say, you have your analytical clients. They give you some examples here, and I've just pulled them. So they say a finished basement could be $20,000 to $40,000, right? An extra bathroom, I guess whether it's a half bathroom or full bathroom, can be between 5 and 10. Lot size increase, it's variable based on area, I guess, more land.
We said 40,000 when it is nowadays at least 60 to 70 grand.
Not what the cost is to you. We're talking about what the increase is in your market value. So it's like you don't necessarily get 100% return on your investment, right?
Yeah, I know one.
Yeah.
Basically, I
Yeah.
think very well.
Yeah.
60%.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's why I pulled this, because I know you guys were going to ask, like, what would it cost? This is what I pulled off of online. You know what I mean? Renovated kitchens, they say, and bathrooms from 15 to 50,000. I guess depending on how big or how amazing your kitchen is. Yeah.
Basement is not legal basement.
Yeah.
You don't need to include the extra income on the basement.
Yes.
Then,
Yeah. You have to be careful. Yeah.
10,000 to 15,000.
He's just saying that. Not he doesn't know from experience. I know. At least he's admitting it now. Yeah. See, he's an example. Don't put it in your listing. Don't put it in legal. It's rented. Unless you have certificates and paperwork in your hand, don't put it. Because RICO will come down hard on you. Yeah.
I sold quite.
You can't say that your client told you. We tried everything. He knows. We can't say that your client told you, that they insisted, that they knew, right? You can't say. Yeah, you should explain to them that you can get fined if you put the wrong information in. So even though you're insisting for me to put it in, I'm technically protecting you by not putting it in your listing. Because it's not only the agent that can get in trouble, it's also the seller, misrepresentation, right? So yeah, just tell them that you're protecting them at the end of the day, and I'm not putting it in the listing, right? So I don't want to RICO fine.
You need to go to the
Courses and everything, and it shows up on your license. You guys know this, right? Like you Google search, not Google search. If you go to RICO and you search the agent's name, it'll show if you've been disciplined before. So do you want your clients looking that up? Like, I'd be mortified. So
Sometimes clients, they don't want to get the exact proper tax
yeah,
thing. They don't want to call even 3
you're like, no, I need the exact amount to the penny. Yeah, I asked them to send me a copy too.
Bank money, I approach 20 pages. Nowadays we cannot do.
Yeah.
If they want to buy at any time, they can back off.
Yeah,
According to-
I always ask them. I go, easy, just snap a picture, some proof that I know that I collected the proper information from you. Yeah.
things I went through.
Yeah.
And nearly 30 years, that whole street listed by so many agents.
Yeah.
Is detached house.
Yeah.
But if you go and see, you never see that it's a linked house, right?
Yes. You have to check Geo Warehouse. Geo Warehouse is your best friend. Yeah.
Find out.
Yeah.
It's the link house that I went through the Geo Warehouse.
Yeah.
I always look at it.
You always pull your Geo Warehouse.
One student asked me, he's not in my community, he's a other community. So
Yeah.
it's a good, if I go home and I can establish more business there, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at it and then I told him that it is, I can put it in
Yeah.
chat and link. He said, no, Mananda, because I look at all the listing in detail.
No, it doesn't matter. You do it correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you know what I said? I said, sorry, I'm not going to take it this listing. I walk away from the listing.
No, well, you can get fined, lose your whole commission for a fine.
You can put it as the previous listing is saying,
Yeah.
I can, but whenever I list it,
Yeah.
from the day, I am the responsible.
Exactly.
I heard about after. Previously, the agent who sold the house,
Yeah.
he was in the disciplinary action.
See, you're lucky then. Anyways, I'm gonna let you guys go online. I know you guys are holding on there. Thank you so much. Everyone have a lovely morning, and I will see you next Tuesday.
In the base